It was a blunder they will never live down. Harry and Meghan believe they were making a wise decision when they agreed to that infamous sit-down with Oprah Winfrey back in 2021 to disparage the royal family. But now, almost 3 years later, it's evident that was a mistake that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. Greetings and a very warm welcome to you all. As a prince, Harry was taught to be judicious with his words, to be prudent about what he divulged regarding himself and his family. Harry also had the assistance of palace PR professionals, who excel at their jobs. They were the ones who aided him in covering up all his missteps and misbehaviors. And while growing up, Harry did wind up in the headlines frequently. But he claims he didn't desire that attention, that instead he was just attempting to live his life as a young man. And to some extent, I do believe him. I think it's natural that, especially after the trauma Harry endured as a boy, he was going to go through a wild phase. He was out partying, stumbling out of nightclubs. But Harry was forgiven for all this because remember, that was part of his persona. He was the cheeky, happy-go-lucky prince who was cheerful and fun-loving. Perhaps a bit naughty at times, but it was part of his appeal, really. But even through all that, Harry truly remembered the family's maxim of never complain, never explain. He didn't have a habit of trying to rationalize everything and seeking more attention for himself after articles about him were published. But then Meghan Markle entered and everything changed. Suddenly, Harry became desperate to share his side of the story. Meghan helped him understand that he had been suffering from genetic pain, as he termed it, that his father had passed down to him because of how his father was raised. Of course, we know that's a load of nonsense. But Harry believed Meghan's every word. And the pinnacle of Meghan's influence on Harry truly came in the Oprah interview in 2021, if not later in Spare. That Oprah interview was shocking, without a doubt, because that was really the first time we had heard Harry and Meghan share their perspective, or, as they put it, try to reclaim the narrative. That interview contained so many utterly fabricated stories, so many embellishments, and so many unsubstantiated allegations. And many of these unfounded claims are still being discussed in the media today. The biggest one, of course, is that two members, or rather in that interview, Meghan said it was one member of the royal family, had voiced concerns about how dark her child's skin color might turn out while she was pregnant. And then Harry, of course, said no. The conversations transpired when they first started dating. But whatever, the damage was already done. For years now, people have been speculating about who that family member could possibly be. And then, of course, in November, thanks to Omid Scobie's book, Endgame, we have a new tale. And then, of course, in November, thanks to Omid Scobie's book, Endgame, we have a new tale. In Endgame, we finally received the names. Well, we found out actually, it was two names. Supposedly, King Charles and Princess Catherine had uttered something objectionable about Prince Archie's skin color before he was born. Do we believe it? Well, absolutely not. But Meghan was hoping it would detonate and decimate the royal family. Of course, it didn't. Nobody believed anything written in Endgame because it was penned by Meghan and Harry's cheerleader, Omid Scobie aka Scabies aka Scooby-Doo-Doo. Since then, they've been chattering about how they will annihilate the royal family. Of course, there has been radio silence from both Buckingham Palace and Meghan Markle on the claims in Endgame. Of course, Scooby said Meghan and Harry didn't assist him with the book, but we know better. Much of the data in that book could only have originated from Meghan and Harry themselves, or people authorized to speak on their behalf. At this point, Endgame has now been out for a couple of months nearly. And what has become evident is that nobody really cares about what is in that book, except for those names revealed in the Dutch translation. According to Jack Royston, speaking for the Royal Report, this is still very much a live issue in people's imaginations. Of course, he's referring to the discussions around the royal family and racism. He said it was the big takeaway from the Oprah interview. Whatever Harry and Meghan might now say about whether they didn't mean that, it was the biggest takeaway from the Oprah interview, and it always will be. This will always be the issue from the Oprah interview, and the Oprah interview will always eclipse the other things Harry and Meghan do in years to come. And I concur with him. Now, normally Jack Royston is more of a Sussex supporter than I consider myself to be. But lately, it seems he's changing. It seems he's seeing the Sussexes for who they really are. Now, as for this claim that it's going to pursue Harry and Meghan for years to come, he's accurate. And Harry even tried to backpedal on this. Remember when he was doing interviews promoting Spare, he alleged that he and Meghan never said the family was racist, that the media spun it that way. But that's not what they intended to convey. Well, I mean, come on. You only have to listen to the interviews. You only have to listen to know that's exactly what Harry and Meghan were trying to imply, or at least Meghan. I think Harry was a little uncomfortable with the accusation. You could see his body language in the interview, and he didn't appear to really support what Meghan was alleging. But he went along with it anyway, I suppose because he has no choice. And the fact of the matter is, once something like that is uttered, it cannot be unsaid. No matter what Harry and Meghan try to do to retract that allegation, it's never going to work. That interview is what people will remember. And I can only assume that privately, this interview demonstrated to Harry exactly what his family had been trying to tell him for years, that you have to be careful with what you say, that whenever you're going to say something publicly, you've got to consider the ramifications. Obviously, Harry did not do that. Royston went on to say, when people look back, it will eclipse the Netflix documentary, and it will eclipse Harry's memoir, Harry's book Spare. And the reason it will eclipse those two things is because it came first. Because it came first, it created the narrative. It spawned the drama and the interest. It was the original manifestation of the Harry and Meghan perspective, and this was its centerpiece. I think this point Jack Royston is making is a very good one indeed. And I don't think it's one Harry and Meghan seem to comprehend. Or at least not Meghan. At this point, I think Harry just wants to lay low. He doesn't want the attention anymore. I think he's perfectly satisfied with their careers disintegrating in Hollywood, because he knows he's got his family to fall back on. Meghan, on the other hand, is panicking. She's becoming desperate. I think Meghan can feel Harry slipping away, and so she's desperate to try to reinvent herself before they divorce. She has to know that after the divorce is finalized, she'll maybe be able to write a book, and that might sell because people will crave the gossip about what it was like living with Harry. But after that, no, she has no career prospects. She's never going to be a star in Hollywood. She's never going to be a director or producer. She needs to abandon those dreams immediately. But this was wholly foreseeable. I mean, Harry and Meghan, when they constructed their brand on complaining about past events, should have realized that was no path forward. In the future, what were they going to rely on? In the future, when the royal family ceased speaking to them, which was inevitable and has already transpired, what were they going to be able to vend? I mean, the only thing they have profited from is defaming the royal family and fabricating lies about their experiences as working royals. In the end, yeah, it brought in some money, but not enough to sustain them indefinitely. I've said it before and I'll say it again. In the world we inhabit today, we require positive influences. We need inspiration. We don't need a couple of entitled, privileged brats whining about perceived slights that just aren't that egregious. At the end of the day, Harry and Meghan thought their allegations were going to make such an impact that everyone would turn against the royal family because King Charles dared wonder what his grandchild might resemble before he was born. Well, now we see most people sided with the royal family. Most understand it's not inappropriate to ponder what a baby might look like if the child is going to take after the mother or father more. We know that was all the king meant. The king is not a racist. Nobody will believe he actually uttered something awful about Archie. Especially not when it's Meghan telling us this, because we know she's a liar. So Harry and Meghan really should have contemplated that beforehand. But see, they couldn't because Meghan is a narcissist. Meghan simply cannot consider how people will react to her claims or actions because she can't relate to people. That's one of her biggest problems. She has no empathy or compassion. There's something missing inside her because of Meghan's personality disorders. She can't experience higher vibration emotions like love, joy, and contentment that accompanies a life well lived. As far as I can discern, Meghan Markle is doomed. She will always be miserable. She will always be grasping for something just out of reach. She will never be satisfied, and so she will be miserable. And so I hope Harry can return to his family and eventually find some peace. But Meghan Markle, she never will. And you, what do you think? Do you think Harry and Meghan had any chance of success after that Oprah interview? Please let me know your thoughts below in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share it with any friends or family who would appreciate it too. And if you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy New Year 2024. I hope this year brings you joy, success, and prosperity.